What's up, everybody? It's Coach Dave, and I lift.
Coach Carol, I also lift. Welcome to the She
He
Lifts.
Lift podcast. And tonight, we are each talking about our 5 biggest pet peeves in the gym. That's right, 5 on 5. Carol and Dave, we're going to talk about our biggest pet peeves in the gym. And we've all got them, and some are kind of, I think, a little funny, at least on my end. One or two of them aren't.
Yeah, I think you are funny.
And some of them are things that gym etiquette things. And one thing, there's some obvious gym etiquette things we're going to talk about, but there's some other ones that aren't quite as obvious that I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't even learn until I became a trainer. So,
Mm-hmm,
like,
mm-hmm.
there are things like, and one of them, I'm just going to mention this one. If you are walking to get dumbbells off the rack, and so, people who are far back, you should not walk in front of somebody's mirror, even if they're like, obviously you got to give them some sort of a grace period, but if someone is looking in the mirror,
If you can avoid it,
if
yeah.
you can
If you can
avoid it,
avoid
yeah.
that, yeah.
Obviously, if they're 10 feet away from the mirror, looking at the mirror across the gym, and you're yeah, that's one thing. But if they're like where the benches
Yeah.
usually are behind the dumbbells, if they're
Mm-hmm.
behind there, always go around. I
And if
didn't,
you can't,
I
at
didn't know
least,
that one until I became a trainer. Honestly,
yeah. And if you can't, like on that one, if I can't, like if it's crowded and I
right?
can't really get behind them, if I'm carrying a heavy weight and I can't get behind them, I'll wait until they're done their set.
Yeah, I will do that too. Yeah.
So yeah, the
All right.
etiquette.
So let's go ahead, Carol. Why don't you go ahead and get us started? What is your number 5 pet peeve?
Number 5 is just not using general manners in the gym. Like, your talk, your attitude, you know, general etiquette, walking in front of people. There's a lot in general manners, but I just
Well, I think that is one thing that in today's society is not taught as much. But in the gym, I
no.
feel like, and it goes back to what, so I think a lot of that too goes back to what we say is, when people say, oh, I'm intimidated by the gym, everybody's going to judge me. No one's paying attention to you. And maybe we should pay attention a little bit more.
Just general manners. That's my number 5.
So my number 5 is actually going to be, and again, this is where I think the funny is going to come in a little bit. And I am really tired of the anti-video people. Meaning the people that are always like, oh, why do they have to take selfies? Why do they have to record themselves? Why do they have to blah, 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 blah. We always talk about the gym being a judgment-free zone, and not just as a marketing tool, but really in general. But that is one of those things that I'm just like, really, dude, like, why does it bother you?
Okay.
First of all, if you're going to make the argument that I don't want to be on camera, guess what? Almost every gym has cameras in it. So you're on camera. Pretty much when you leave your house in today's day and age, you're on camera.
Somebody's watching
right.
you.
So let's get that out of the way. Secondly, you don't know why that people. Now, I am not for someone having a tripod and a ring light and a mic and recording their entire workout.
So I can't take all this down when I work out.
No, you cannot take all of our equipment down when you work out. But if you've got a small tripod, or you're recording, or you're taking gym selfies in the mirror, just let people be. Here's a little stat for you. And I wish I had gotten the exact number, but people's fitness journeys fail at like a 90% rate when you get started. If someone's posts on social media and posts gym selfies in their first month,
Yeah.
every time they go, that rate changes from the failure rate goes from 90% to like 30%.
Okay, so let's just touch real quick on why do people do that, and I think there's a lack of understanding on why people do it. Some people, okay, pure vanity, just toss that aside. Some people just like, I look good, okay, whatever. So you can take that picture, but still, that's your business.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing is, and I used to take them all the time and post them. It's accountability.
Mm-hmm.
For me, when I would post, and I just started posting again, not selfies, but I post my workouts. It holds me accountable to the people that are in my audience for coaching, to say, like, I'm doing it too. Like, I'm not above what I'm coaching. But even progress, we talk about progress pictures, and some of the best time, and let's face it, the best lighting is right downstairs
Absolutely.
on Cameron's weight room floor, man. The lighting. Thank you, Cameron.
You get the right, like, sort of
spot
right
in there
where you've got
like,
mirrors on all sides. Yeah, buddy.
And your muscles just pop. Okay, so yeah, but like progress,
Mm-hmm.
or a video, also to look at your own form.
Mm-hmm.
When you're working out, if you don't have someone there to coach you, and you're doing something and it doesn't feel right, or it doesn't look right, or you're trying to perfect it, how do you know what you look like? You shouldn't be twisting your head to look in a mirror when you're doing stuff, and you should be front facing with a neutral spine. So, like, take a video, and yeah, you're going to see what you're doing wrong.
I do that too, and a couple things I do it for. Obviously, I do it for business reasons. I can post
Sure.
workout things and stuff like that. I do it to correct my own form. If I'm going for a lift that I've never lifted it, especially like one of the big three, like a deadlift, bench press, or squat, and I'm going for a 1 rep max PR, hell yeah, I'm going to record that shit because I want video evidence of
You
it.
want video
I want video
evidence.
evidence of me hitting that 350.
Sure.
The other thing is too, and this is where this came from. I'll be honest with you. There was two guys at another gym that I work in, and someone complained to the front desk about them recording each other, and he goes, I don't know why these kids have to record all the time. I'm like, dude, let them record, like
Right.
let them be, like, they're not
Right.
bothering you.
Right.
So
And
I
as
don't.
long as you said, as long as you're not like taking equipment down, and don't get
Right,
in people's way. That's the
right,
other thing, which goes to the general manners. So those
right.
two, put them together and you're fine.
So what's your number 4?
This one kind of is a pet peeve of mine after running a gym for like a couple of years. And there's a couple reasons why, but just not wiping down your equipment. Now, I put in my notes not wiping your sweat, but really it's more than your sweat. And forget, we're not going to get into a COVID debate. We're not even going
Right.
to unleash that on anyone, because before COVID there was some scary stuff in the gym.
Oh yeah.
And there's still scary stuff in the gym. So anybody out there who doesn't want to wipe your equipment down, you might want to rethink that. Now, do you have to be crazy about it and wipe every single
You're
thing?
really getting ahead of yourself
Uh,
here.
you know,
But
I just wipe. Okay, so when I do the bench, I wipe the bench. I wipe the touch point of the bar.
uh-huh.
I mean, because somebody could come right behind me and touch that, and if I just like coughed in my hand and put it, yeah, it's courtesy.
Oh, I'm gonna say this. Like you said, there's some scary stuff in the gym. There's some not scary stuff in the gym that you generally don't want. Like you leave sweat around, and again, my
Gross.
right. Like, so
Yeah.
what? And I'll give you an example. One of the things that we used to have a problem with a lot, especially in like the summer months when I was doing jujitsu and wrestling more full time, was ringworm, because it is something that just sort of can spontaneous. It's basically athlete's foot. So you used to get, no, you did.
Mm,
You just could. So you
yeah,
would try to wipe
I
it as much.
know. Wipe it down.
But
Just
yeah, you
wipe it
wipe.
down.
But even wiping it down after every class, you're still on it for on the mats for
Okay,
so.
but
It's
that
a,
was mine.
but that
Just
comes back to my number 4, which is actually people who over clean shit. I swear, if you have, like Carol said, wipe down your bench, wipe down your touch points. If you have to wipe every plate down for every plate that you touch, every inch of the bar, when you take it off the rack, when you put it back on the rack, at some point, like, and I understand
or
people
you're
have,
rusting the equipment
right.
because you're putting so
I have
much stuff
literally
on
seen,
it.
and I'm not
Yeah.
talking about the gym cleaning staff. I'm talking about someone who walked up, sprayed the belt of the treadmill down, ran on it, and then sprayed it again. I'm like, first of all, where have your feet been?
What is on your
Right,
shoes?
like that they were so. Actually, my thought was like, dude, you literally walked in here, so unless you sprayed your shoes down right before you got on that thing, your shoes are kind of funky. Secondly, why do you have to spray the belt? What bare part of your body is touching the treadmill, like
Yeah.
touching the belt? Like, I understand wiping
Yeah.
the handles and the parts in front of you where you're likely to get sweat
Yeah.
or incidental spit.
Right.
Like, I get that, but over
So
cleaning people, and then you're waiting for that.
to
You're
dry.
well, not only waiting for it to dry, you're waiting for the machine. Like, someone will be like, oh, I'll wipe. Oh, well, let me wipe it down. I'm like, okay, cool. I don't have to wipe it down now. But then they have to, like, I'm like, dude, I'm not trying to perform surgery on it. I'm just trying to do a chest fly.
Okay. And just as another aside, and Cameron, maybe she'll thank me later. I don't know. Don't spray directly on the machine. There's a reason she gives you a rag. Spray the rag. You can spray the bench, but do not spray a machine. And for the love of Pete, never spray the display on any machine that is electronic.
Mm-mm.
We learned a lot during the pandemic, but that was, yeah. So that's yours. That's the anti me. I want you to wipe it down. Dave's like, don't do it too much.
Well, just again, I come
Right.
back to general matters. Like, I'm not trying to perform surgery in the gym.
Okay. right, so my number 3, and we can probably fight on. We always
Go
have
ahead.
these differing opinions. Like it's like I don't know, black and white over here.
Okay.
Me, it's just loud phone calls. Get off your phone. Get off your phone in the gym. Don't not your earbud, not walking around in between sets doing business and all this other stuff. You're here to work out. Work out.
So I don't disagree with your sentiment on this one. However, and again, this is one of those fine line things. I'm going to say, like, in all seriousness, we say make the time. Okay, to me, if you're on a Zoom call with your earbud in and you're not speaking, you're on one of them Zoom calls where you just have to listen. You know what I'm talking about because you've been on them calls before. Or you're in, you're on the phone with your spouse or significant other while you're in between sets. That's making the time to me. If you're responding to emails in between sets, as long as you're not hogging the equipment, like again, that goes along with making the
Responding to
time.
an email, you're not talking out loud.
No, but
To me,
I don't
it's
know.
just I don't know.
I
It's
have
just
like I
you're not
agree with
really
you,
working
and
out.
what I don't like is when I hear someone talking to their buddy about fantasy football while they're there. If you're taking a business call, like I'll give you a little bit of a grace period on that one because again, we always talk about making the time to take care of yourself,
Okay.
and to me, that's someone who.
To me, I just go make the time. And to me, making the time, you should actually disconnect from business every once in a while too.
I don't
So I
disagree with
go
that
with
either.
that, but maybe it's right up there with loud headphones if somebody's headphones are so loud, like, and then that even goes right back to just general etiquette and
If you can hear
manners.
somebody's headphones, they need to invest in new
But they
headphones.
do it all the time. People do it all the time, and it's like, just no, just don't.
Yeah.
You know, what do you got?
So for me, I'm going to go back to my number 3, and this is going to be one of those things that I sort of didn't know. Curling in the squat rack.
Why don't you want to
Why
curl
don't?
in the squat?
Well, so here's the reason I don't
Maybe
want to.
because it's a squat rack and not a
Well, no,
curl
because
rack.
so I will give you if you're doing shoulder presses on barbell shoulder presses or rows or something in the squat rack where you
Okay.
want to have the bar elevated before you pick it up. Like I get that. So I'm not saying you just need to squat in the squat rack.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is there's a million other devices in the gym that you can curl with without having to curl that will give you a better control, better range of motion, and a better grip than the squat rack. On top of that, most gyms, I mean, obviously some of it depends on the size of your gym, only have somewhere between 2 and 4 squat racks. Obviously depending on having the strength. So if you got a guy waiting to squat and you're sitting there doing bicep curls, which you can go across the gym, and even if you wanted a straight grip and not an easy curl grip, like most gyms have a small straight bar
Right.
or preloaded straight bars, or just use an easy curl bar.
Right.
God.
Well, that reminds me of a meme I saw today that was like, it was like there's 2,000 new pieces of cardio equipment arriving today, but the number of the squat racks is always 2.
Oh,
Never
yeah, I saw
more,
that. Right.
Never more, just 2.
Just 2, right.
Just 2. So my number 2 is not putting your weights back, not re-racking your weights, not putting weights away. And that's probably was exasperated after working in the gym for a while or managing a gym. I was like, every morning I came in, I felt like I was picking up my toddler's toys off the floor. Like, it was just like, put it away. If you got it out, put it away. Don't leave all the 45s on something. I mean, I got to work out, but like, why do I have to unrack all of your weights?
Well, that re-racking your weights is part of that, but the big part of that is unracking taking the weights that you're using off the bar, because you don't know who's coming after you. And if I'm deadlifting 350 pounds and someone comes behind me and trying to do a deadlift or squat or get right, you have to spend. I've gone into gyms before and I've gone to deadlift, and on the platform is a bar, and I'm like, oh, no one's here. And they're like, yeah, no one's there. And there's 500 pounds on the bar.
Right.
The load, someone else is using the loader, so I can't pull it up. Like, so I now I've got to spend 10, 15 minutes unloading 500 pounds from someone who, and a leg press, I feel like, is another place for that.
Yeah, the leg press was a big one. At Anytime Fitness, we had the double sled.
Yeah.
So you could really load that thing up. And let me tell you how mad I
Oh,
used to
where you can
get.
put the weights on the top too.
And I would come in, and every 45 plate that we had in that gym was on there because people, it was open all night.
Right.
People come in the middle of the night, they'd walk out. Well, I was the jerk who ran the gym and reran the cameras, though. And when I found you not putting your stuff away, you got a nice text being
Nice.
like, rack it up, baby. Just take it and put it away. All right, what do you got?
So I am going to say people who are still doing exercises that have long been told is dangerous, unsafe, or just flat out unproductive.
You should demonstrate which ones.
Behind the neck lat pull downs, behind the neck
Yes.
shoulder presses, upright rows, bench flies. I will give some people a grace on. However, I feel like enough people have talked that there's enough facts out there about doing dumbbell bench flies. What was the one I kept seeing for a while? It was almost like a side plank into a lateral, like where people would hold almost like we were doing a renegade row, and they would come up and do a renegade row, and then they twist and they'd level. I'm like, what are you really doing there? Like, again, it's a little bit of mobility there, but there's a lot of other things you could do that are going to be way more effective. Fad exercises, people who are trying to do like cable twists, but they're just sort of pulling the like I'm like,
How about holding a plate and just bending sideways?
oh, side bends.
like
Side
that?
bends is another one where I'm just like, dude, have you not
There's
like do
other
you
things.
not and then there'll be someone like, I've been doing this for years. Okay, and how's your back feeling?
Right.
Right? Like
Right.
people doing tricep work who they pull it down with their shoulders before they extend their elbow, so the tricep push down. Those types of things. And as a coach, like I always want, like I waffle back and forth between, do I go and say, hey, look, can I show you, I see you're in here working, good for you. Can I show you a better way?
Yeah.
Or just leave them be? Behind the neck stuff, guys, just if you're still doing behind the neck lat pull downs and behind the neck shoulder presses, knock it off. I know Arnold did them, but I'm sure he's had many shoulder surgeries and neck therapy, because that stuff is going to put your shoulders and your neck in a very compromising position.
The same with that upright row.
Same with the upright row. The upright row, I forget the name of it, but I've heard before people say, oh, if I was a physical therapist, that's the position they put. But it actually has a name for that position. I can't remember what the name is now. I just saw. I should have written it down. But if you go in and say my shoulders hurts, the first thing the physical therapist do is go do this, which is literally doing an upright row.
Yeah.
That drives me nuts.
Yep. There's plenty of exercises out there that you can do. You don't have to do silly stuff that really has no benefit.
Bench flies is another one, but I guess I feel like that one has become a little bit more recently. But if you're doing dumbbell bench flies where you've got your shoulders, especially as you get up in weight, relative to your strength level,
you're like, here, let me just put this down, snap. No,
right?
Like,
especially, and if you're
use the pec fly,
or cables,
fly, right? I mean,
I actually like cables better than the pec fly. But
do you? I prefer the fly machine.
Yeah, I like the cables because, well, part of it I know because of your joints.
Well, because I need stability.
Right.
Yeah. So you put me on cables, I'm like all over the place.
Because I don't worry as much about my stability. I like to get that little bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
And some people like that from the bench, but with the bench fly, when you do that and your shoulders are unsupported, and someone says, "Well, aren't your shoulders unsupported with the cable?" Yeah, but with the cable, I can control where my body is. On the bench, you can't.
Right. No, you can't. You're laying down, and like you said, you put a heavy weight. Like, I mean, you're basically you can just totally like snap your shoulder, and that freaks me out. So
yeah.
All right, my number one, and it really ticks me off, and I don't get really angry at much, but if you're hogging equipment, and I'm talking about not just the groups of, I call them the bumblebees, when there's like, not picking on younger kids, but they tend to work out in groups, and they're like from everything to everything. They follow each other around. Okay, I'm all for people working out versus being out on the streets doing dumb stuff.
Right.
But this comes back to etiquette. If there's 5 of you and you're on a bench and you're taking turns and there's 2 benches, nobody's ever going to get a chance. Like, so you have to be cognizant of that.
Well,
but
if they're using one bench, like I give them a thing, but it's when they're like 5 of them using both benches.
Or using both benches.
Yeah,
but like really hogging the equipment. I mean, there's other people in the gym, and we all get it. Like, times of the day when the gym is busy, right after work or right after school. Like, I get it. the other thing with hogging the equipment, and I'm somebody who likes to do stuff in like a superset or in a small circuit.
Mm-hmm.
If you see that the gym is that busy, don't leave a piece of, like, don't leave your towel on one thing and your phone on another and your drink
Mm-hmm.
bottle on another because you're like, oh, I'm using that. No, like, if the gym is empty, have at it.
Right.
Superset your heart out. Like, you can use all the things, but
I,
when it's busy, come on.
I really, if I'm trying to superset and the gym's moderately too busy, I'm gonna make sure that I'm supersetting like a machine with, if I'm gonna do a machine, the superset exercise is gonna be a dumbbell exercise versus
I have done that, or I just don't
doing
superset at that
right,
time.
or don't
Yeah,
superset, right.
it's the etiquette thing.
Right. I try to be respectful
Sure.
as much as I can.
Yep.
But yeah, I also usually work out at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so it's not
You can do whatever you
right.
want.
Well, and again, even if it's
Dave uses
busy,
all
it's
the, I can't come anymore because he uses all the equipment.
right.
Just all of it.
Right. That's why she doesn't come here. Not that she's working and I have a break in the middle of the day. All right. So
Oh, geez.
my number one, and this is, so there's a little subjective, but there's a little bit of subjectivity to this, but there's also a little bit of, you can see this and you can tell the difference when people are working out with no effort. They are coming to the gym and they are standing there. They do one set of 10 and it barely looks like they're breaking a sweat. They move to the next machine and they go. Now, I'm going to put a couple caveats on this one. First of all, I'm not talking about the older folks, the senior citizens that are in there just because it is a way to get them out of the house and keep their mobility. I'm talking about the people that who you know. And let me tell you what, guys, if you've been around the gym a lot, you know the people who are there trying to make a change and with minimal effort. If you're truly trying to make a change,
Yes.
put a little effort. I'm not saying you have to go balls out.
know.
I'm not saying you have to
I
train
know.
every set till failure.
I know.
And I'm certainly not trying to shame anybody.
I was going to say, devil's advocate says, well, Dave, isn't it better that they're in here doing something,
It
taking a
is,
work phone call and like all the other things? Right.
but you know what? I'm going to say this. The people that are taking their work phone calls, usually they're putting in effort.
Okay.
Usually I see them like, hold on, I got to do a set. And then they mute their phone and go run out a set. And then they come back out of breath on their work call.
Point taken.
So I'm talking about the people that really, and you've seen them. They come in there and they think because they're walking into the gym. And in the very beginning, I'm not going to say anything. But as time goes on, it's something you're going to have to be like, look, are you here? Are you here to make a change? Or are you just here to show up at the gym to say you did?
I was going to say, but how do we encourage those people to put forth the effort?
So as a coach, and this is where I want to. I'm going to say this, and I might be slightly off topic with what I'm about to say, but we've talked about this. A lot of times when people begin a fitness journey, they begin for a reason, and most of us have what we call an oh shit moment, or an aha. People say aha moment. I say oh shit moment because that's just the kind of guy I am. But your oh shit moment is what's going to prompt you to get there. That is not going to last forever. The motivation that comes from that oh shit moment doesn't last forever. Yeah. You have to look at yourself and say, why am I here? Is it to lose 20 pounds? If it's to lose 20 pounds, okay, I get it. It's probably not as much effort, and it's probably not, you don't think you have to put in as much as the guy that needs to lose 100 pounds. But guess what? When you're trying to lose a small amount of weight, it is harder. It is harder because first, especially, I'll give you an example. When I try to get my weight down for my tournaments, it's hard. It is harder to do that in 6 weeks than it was to lose that 100 pounds in a year.
Yeah.
Because my body doesn't want to lose that weight.
Right. It's just like, no.
So if you're trying to lose that 5 to 10 pounds and not putting in the effort, you have to ask yourself, how important is it to me that I am coming in here and barely making my muscles work, moving a piece of equipment. Now, if you're doing it for mobility or muscular endurance, and again, that's different. But when you're doing a set of 10 at a lightweight where you're just sort of going through the motion, you're not really forcing your body to change.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would say if you feel like if you're working out and it's not challenging you, and we've talked about challenging before in other ways, then perhaps it's time to, take a class, get a coach, do something, find a workout buddy, and just kick it up a notch.
Yeah, and that's right. Find yourself a coach, or find yourself, like you said, a workout buddy.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'll be honest with you. When I have someone to work out with, I generally go a little harder than when I went by myself. And there's a couple reasons for that. Obviously, the easy reason is, hey, I got someone going, all right, come on, you got one more, and you got one more in you. The other part of that is that in certain lifts, I have someone there now to spot me, so I can if I have someone there that can spot me, or even if they're not necessarily working out with me, if there's someone else in the gym who I know where I'm like, hey, can Carol, can you come spot me on a bench press or a squat or some where I'm like, if I fail, I can't just drop the weight.
Yeah.
Type lift, then like it gives me that little extra motion. So ask yourself, if you're there and not seeing the effort and not seeing the results, are you putting in the effort, or are you coming there just going through the motions? And if you're not, why not? Is it because you're afraid of getting hurt? Is it because you don't really know what you're doing? Or is it because you just don't want to? And if you just don't want to, okay, I get it. But let's say, why don't you want to spend the time on yourself? You spend the time to get there, and not, it's like going to a buffet and eating one plate of salad.
What kind of analogy is that?
I'm just saying, if you're gonna go to the Chinese buffet, I'm not gonna eat one plate of salad. Like, and I don't really like the Chinese buffet, so let's start with that. But I'm just saying, that's my analogy.
I could tear up a Chinese buffet. Yeah, I probably could.
I used to be able to, not anymore. But you understand my point. You're gonna go and pay this money to eat crab rangoons and sushi and all the junk food, and then eat one plate of salad. Like, that's not. Okay. You can better things to do with your time. And again, that's certainly not. I'm there anyway. I might as well do it. I might as well put the effort in to improve my health, improve my fitness, improve my quality and longevity of life, because that is what we are here for, right?
Correct.
All right.
Please do not go to the buffet tonight, folks. That's all I'm saying.
No Chinese buffet. It's only Thursday when we're recording this. So there you have it. That is our
pet peeves.
Our pet peeves. I like to lighten up the topic every once in a while, because I feel like a lot of times we get on these rants and these topics, and we're going to get back into that next week.
Oh yeah, I'm going to be ranting next week.
Why don't you go ahead, tell them what you're talking about, because I know you want to.
It's fitness influencers, not coaches, but influencers, right. And boy, do I have some stuff to say about that.
So, right, and what we're going to be talking about is just the advice. So, not just, and some of it is we're going to talk about coaches and legit coaches. And again, something that I've mentioned here and there before is about where you're getting your advice from and when you are getting your advice from. So we're going to talk about the advice that you're getting, the advice that you're following. Is it going to work for you? Is it not? Is it going to work for anyone? Is it not? And is it when to know, is it the right time to take that advice? So we're going to talk about that next week. So until next week, you can check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the She Lifts, He Lifts podcast. Yep. Check out Carol at Love Yourself Health Coaching. Check out me on YouTube at Coach Dave's Country Kitchen. Rockstar Fitness on Facebook. DWebster023 on Instagram. I got too many social media handles, right?
And what else?
I don't know. That's pretty much all. I'm not on, like, what's the one that the kids play with? The Twitch.
You don't need to be on anything else.
I'm not on Twitch, All right. So until next week, I'm Coach Dave with Coach Carol. Ladies and gentlemen, woo!